What's up, everybody, and welcome to the first ever bonus episode of Press YYZ. This is normally your one-stop shop where we bring you all the best video game news and discussion with a uniquely Canadian twist. You can find us on Twitter at Press YYZ, where we appreciate any feedback you may have. I'm your host for today, Mitch George, joined today by our resident head of HR, Nathan Mclnerney. How you doing, bud?
Hey, how's it going? I'm glad to be here.
We've also got Cozy with us on the ones and twos, hanging out in the background. How you doing, Cozy?
Hello. I won't speak much this episode.
It's all good. So this week we're doing something a little different. This is your chance to get to know your hosts a little better. So I am going to do my darndest to help you get to know our host, Nathan Mclnerney.
Ooh, this is a surprise. I did not know about this.
I thought we discussed the format of this before. Are you just doing a bit?
Yeah, I'm doing a bit. It was a bit. It's
Okay,
not
cool.
a bit anymore.
I was just making sure because we didn't talk that much before we decided to do this on a whim today. So just wanted to make sure.
No, it's all good. I'm hearing that we're supposed to talk about Xbox achievements. That's what somebody's tuned in for. I actually don't know what achievements are, so this is going to be an awkward conversation.
Yeah, you've tuned into the wrong show there, bud. So before we get started, I've got a list of questions I want to ask you to let our fans know who you are as a gamer. But before we get into that, you want to just give us a bit of a spiel as to who is Nathan? Why does Nathan game? How did we end up here today? Things like that.
Wow, I want to be careful because I don't want to delve potentially into your questions because they're completely a mystery to me.
That's okay. I can always skip them.
Yeah. Well, Nathan's a 38-year-old father of three, married, lives in London, Ontario. I've got three boys who love gaming. Actually, we were having a family round of Mario Kart, which I sit out now. My wife plays with my three boys last night because I'm too good for them and I beat them every single time. So my wife plays. It's a bit better competition. But my just turned 5-year-old is now beating my 9-year-old. And my 7-year-old and my wife.
Uh-oh. I guess we have the next Nathan on our hands when it comes to gaming.
Yeah, he's and I'm like, he's not even doing the boosts off the ramps or sliding. He's beating them without actually playing at full potential right now.
Oh God! Once he learns those tricks, he might be challenging you.
I know.
The household crown.
This is why I don't play Smash with my kids because I don't like to lose.
Are they better than you at Smash?
Yeah. For the record, I'm not good at Smash. Now put PlayStation All-Star Battle Royale in front of me, and then you got a separate conversation. That's a masterpiece.
Okay, that's not. I have a platinum in that game. It's not a very good game. Just so you know.
It's a masterpiece.
Whatever. So, Nathan, London, Ontario. Me, Mitch, living in Toronto. How did this end up happening? Like, you and I kind of have a bit of history before we even started this show.
Yeah, 100%. So probably 2 years ago, we would have met at EGLX when we had the Kind of Funny meetup.
It would have been 2 years ago this coming October.
Yeah.
Because I remember distinctly, so meeting up at EGLX, it was for a Kind of Funny meetup.
Yeah.
And Greg Miller could not stop talking about that Ghostbusters game that came out on mobile and wanting to go bust some ghosts around downtown Toronto in the snow because we had snow in October, which should be unheard of, but it's not.
Nope.
It was it was weird. I was going to say, it's funny too, because I didn't actually go to EGLX. I just showed up for the meetup and ended up standing next to you in line while we waited for them to let us into the restaurant we were at.
Yeah, the Shark something?
We just got to talking. Shark Club. Shout out Shark Club, Yonge and Dundas, downtown Toronto. Maybe we'll get to go there when... Okay, we're recording this in the middle of a pandemic. I don't know when it's going to release, so hopefully at some point we'll get to go back there, but who knows when that may be.
It's very true.
So where was I? Yeah, so we got to talking. You mentioned, you write for PS4blog.net. You're reviewing some PlayStation games, and I thought that was real cool. And yeah, we just sort of started. We hung out there that night, and then we met up again the next year at, I guess the CNE was first. Were you at the CNE or were you just at EGLX?
I was just at EGLX this year. Skipped the CNE. I couldn't do both events.
Sure.
Yeah. But I came to EGLX for the day. We got to have the meetup with Greg. But during the day after, we had the Kind of Funny.
No, we didn't.
No, sorry. We didn't have the meetup with Greg.
No, we didn't. We tried to have a meetup with Greg.
Sorry, we had the meetup with Adam Boys.
That is correct. We got Adam, or shout out to Justin, friend of the show, who got you and him, I think it was, got Adam Boyes to show up, right?
Yeah, we happened to run into him when he was in the room, and I was like, "Is that Adam Boyes?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think that's Adam Boyes." So we called him out, and he came out, and he had a photo op with us, and we mentioned that we were trying to get Greg to come to this party, and he happened to message Justin later asking about where the party is going to be. So we're like, well, we think it's here. We don't know if Greg's coming. And he ended up showing up, and Greg didn't. So what do you do? It was a great time, though. Really happy to have him come.
Yeah, no, we had a great time. That was a great night, and that's sort of where the idea for Kind of Funny Toronto was born.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was you and me. We just figured we should have somewhere for Toronto Kind of Funny fans to congregate, and that's how that came to be. And out of that came this podcast. So we figured, hey, let's have the two matriarchs of Kind of Funny Toronto get together, have a bit of a powwow, and just help our viewers and listeners get to know one of our hosts a little better.
Now, I feel
and
bad.
This week it's you.
Oh, hold on a quick second. Matriarchs?
Patriarchs.
Yeah.
With a P.
Yeah, I was going to say patriarchs would be a more appropriate.
I tried using a smart person word. I should not have done that. I apologize.
Yeah.
We're motherly figures to everybody. What are you talking about, Cozy?
I was going to say, I feel bad because as much as we're co-founders, you're pretty much running the entire account on your own. I'm not contributing
love some
very
help.
well.
Honestly, there's not that much to do. It's it's great we have that Facebook community, and you help me out with that.
Mm-hmm.
The Twitter stuff I manage, and it's not the end of the world. It's just another account to manage because I also manage the Press YYZ Twitch account, so it's no big deal.
Yes. I always feel bad because I'm like, oh, Mitch is doing so much, and I'm just like, I want to do more, but then I'm like, I got kids and I got other stuff going on, and I'm sorry.
You got kids, man. You got kids. You got
kids.
priorities. I don't, so it's okay. I have my lovely fiance who I still look forward to marrying at some point in 2020 when all this craziness subsides.
Is she into Animal Crossing yet?
Okay. This is going to be a bit of a time capsule because we actually don't know when this episode's coming out. But
that's fair.
At this point, we're actually not living together because when the pandemic struck, I didn't have a proper workstation for. So I work from a laptop day to day, but for her work, she has dual monitors and it's a desktop PC. She is working from home, thankfully, doesn't have to go to the office, but I didn't have the space to set her up in my apartment right now.
Yep.
So she's actually working from her parents, and I've been going through the process of getting everything together so she can work from here, and hopefully over the next couple of weeks from when this is being recorded, not from when it's releasing, because who knows when, we'll be together again. But yeah, it's been a bit of a rough isolation just from that respect.
Yeah, that's fair. It's kind of like one of those double-edged swords because you're not with somebody and you're like, you want to be with somebody, and then like I'm with 5 people and I'm like, I just need a break.
Yeah, and there's no middle ground when it comes to this. You are where you are, and you're there until we return to some level of normalcy at the end of all this. But thankfully, having this show and having a great group of guys to get together with once a week and chat about our Animal Crossing adventures, much to Cozy's chagrin, as well as a number of other things, has been a real sort of it's been a great point of focus for me. Outside of my 9 to 5 at work, to have something else to do, which has been great, other than just sitting in front of my TV playing games or reading one of the books behind me, or what else do I do? That's about it, to be honest. Consume some content, but it's nice to have a creative outlet going through all this, and I'm glad to have you gentlemen along for the ride.
Yes. All right. Well, why don't we jump into some questions and we can go from there?
Sure. Yeah. And I've prepared some questions for today. If anyone watching us live at twitch.tv/PressYYZ has anything they want to contribute to the conversation, other than some terrible questions from any of our other co-hosts who may or may not be in chat, I'll be sure to bring those up with Nathan as this show goes on.
Perfect.
So first one's a biggie, and for any of these, if you're not sure what you want to say, skip. We can come back to it, or we can just forget about it.
All right.
A couple of them are gimmies, and I'm starting with the cream of the crop. Favorite game of all time?
This is such a hard question whenever you're asked, because you
Yes, it
always
is.
feel like your favorite game switches as time goes on. And it's always like, is it that new recent thing or is it that old thing when I played when I was a kid?
Okay, so let me. What is your favorite game at the moment?
At the moment,
And historically, what is your favorite game? Game series, genre, if you can't limit it to that.
so
And like,
yeah, no. Okay,
I mean-
so my favorite game right now, this is going to be a shock, but I'm just going to put it out there.
not in the slightest.
Animal Crossing.
Of course, it's Animal Crossing. What's the hour count at right now as of this recording?
245, I believe.
That's almost as many as I've put into Pokemon, and that's been out for like 4 months longer.
I am hopelessly addicted to it, and I don't know what it is.
They got you hook, line, and sinker. I don't know what it is either.
I like, this is a game that with my wife, she loves Animal Crossing. She's played the DS one, she's played the 3DS one, and I've always been like, I don't get it. Like, it's not for me. And then come Thursday night, it unlocks at midnight on our Switches. We start playing it, and I was like, I'll give it a try because you like it. And I know people are going to be playing it, so I want to give it the college try, but it probably won't last long. And then a month later, and I've put in that much time into it, and I was up till 3:30 in the morning trying to catch Chars last night.
Why?
So I can have the models to give to CJ
Why?
because I love it.
So I mean, I've been playing it as well, but I've gotten to a point where I'm going in, I'm doing my daily activities. So I find my fossils, collect my fruit. I think I collected my fruit today. I hope I did. Check out the shops, and that's it. I balance at that point. I'm not super into the collecting the fish, collecting the bugs. I get the appeal, and it's crazy how a series you've never touched has just hopelessly taken over your entire life.
I've never put this, like, I can't even remember the last game. I'm not into games as services, and because I review games, I normally flip from game to game very quickly. I don't have time
Right.
to spend in, typically I don't have time to just spend in one game because I'm bouncing around. But something about Animal Crossing has me come up. It's the first thing I do in the morning. I get the Switch out and I like check to see what's in the shop, and I see what's going on. And everything you said, I do, but then I want to go on trips and I want to get the gold, and I want to get I have a set of gold armor now that I walk around in. I just made knight armor. I've got a full knight armor setup that
You're a crazy person about this game.
Yeah.
This is insane.
so and it's been a long time since I felt this way about a game, and for a game that I never
Yeah.
thought I'd really be interested in at all. So it's just a surprise to me, like, how much I've fallen in love with this game. Like, it by far has eclipsed anything I've played on the Switch by like 5 or 6 times the amount. Maybe
Okay, so that
Mario
ahead.
Odyssey. No, it's beaten Mario Odyssey. I 100% in Mario Odyssey, but there's no way I put more than 100 hours into that.
I was gonna say that's like 80, 90 hours. If you're following a guide or anything like that, if you're doing it on your own, it might go over 100, but it's not gonna get anywhere near the numbers you've put into Animal Crossing. So that's your game of the moment.
Yeah.
Now, historically, to the best of your knowledge, this could change. Like, I'm not holding you
Yeah.
to, oh, you said it was this now and it's this in 6 months. I don't care. If the first game that comes to mind when I say favorite game of all time, what is it?
So I'm going to say Breath of the Wild for Super Nintendo. Or not Breath of the Wild. Breath of Fire.
Breath of the Wild wins.
No.
You heard it. It's on record.
Damn
it's
it.
on the record.
It's not.
I win.
Breath of Fire for Super Nintendo.
Okay.
Breath of Fire 2 specifically. I was a big RPG fan when I was a kid, and it was something that I didn't really understand at first. I actually found my first RPG. It was Final Fantasy Legend 3 for Game Boy on the ground when I was walking home from school one day. And I'd never played a game like it
God.
before. I put it
Yeah.
in, and I was like, I don't understand what's going on here. I got to the first boss of the game, and I'm like, I can't win. I actually called one of those Nintendo Power Lines. I got my parents' permission until I called them, and they're like, you just need to beat him. Like, there's no special trick. It's the
You
first-
got to get good, kid.
you got to
Like, come on.
You got to understand how the game works. That was pretty much, and I kind of fell in love with the genre after that as I started like understanding more and more about it. Final Fantasy Legend 3 was actually, it's not a Secret of Mana game. It's a Tales game, I believe, that they put the Final Fantasy name on.
That sounds right. Square did a bunch of weird stuff like that back in the day.
Yeah, so it's a Tales game, but they put the Final Fantasy name on them. I believe that's for 2 and 3. Legend 1 was a Legend of Mana game, I think. Anyways, that doesn't matter.
Anyway, Breath of Fire 2 is what you were talking about.
Yeah, Breath of Fire 2. So that's how I fell in love with RPGs.
Okay.
But Breath of Fire 2 just had everything when I was a kid. Like, it took the first Breath of Fire, which I really enjoyed. It added, you could combine characters and actually create brand new characters by combining them. So you could take your party members and actually physically fuse them into the same character, like into one character. And you could do this to result in like another like 30, that might be high, but like 15 different party members that you could add with different abilities and through this fusing process. There was a town building sim part of it too, which was really cool. And then my favorite part was the story itself because it gripped you. And do you remember Xenosaga when it was out on PlayStation? Do you remember that game?
So I got my PS1 when I was 9 or 10.
Okay. So
and only owned Spider-Man, 101 Dalmatians, and the Grinch, and a couple of Dragon Ball games. So,
yeah, so
I'm not the historian when it comes to the PlayStation generation.
Okay. So I said Xenosaga, I meant Xenogears. But when Xenogears came out on the PlayStation 1, it was met by huge criticism because of the story and how it treated religion in the story. Okay. Breath of Fire 2 did that 10 to 15 years beforehand. Not even a word. I don't want
just less coverage.
Just less coverage. Less people know what video games were. Nobody's playing them. Like,
and now this is a game that's available on the SNES online app for the Switch, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I think the first and the second one are both in there, right?
I'd have to confirm. I think the second one is for sure. I don't know about the first one.
I was in there the other day. I thought I remember seeing them both there, but either way, I think that's knowing it's something that means a lot to you. It's something I want to go back and try.
Yeah,
because I like when I was a kid, I had my SNES. It was just whatever games I inherited, and then I went out and bought the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, the game.
Oh, yep.
And the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Fighting Edition were the only games I added to my collection as a kid. Both phenomenal for a kid who was addicted to Power Rangers.
Yeah.
But there wasn't anything to that ilk. Like everything was platformers, racing, fighting, simpler stuff. I never really got deep into RPGs as a kid.
Yeah.
And that's one that I definitely want to go back and check out.
It's a really good one. It's one that's not talked about a lot. So it was funny. I was reading, IGN did a top ranking for RPGs a little while back.
Yeah, I saw that last week or something like that.
When we did that. But I read it when it came out, and it's funny because they had Breath of Fire 1 ahead of Breath of Fire 2, and they said Breath of Fire 1 because it's the first in the series, and the first one's always better than the sequels. And I'm like, nobody's played this game who wrote whatever recap they did. They know it needs to be on the list, but they don't have any content.
They don't know why.
Yeah, they don't know why it needs to be on the list. And Breath of Fire 2 it's one of those games though where I'm afraid people will go back to now, and it's not going to age well, like old turn-based RPGs, because it's going to feel slower. It doesn't speed up. But if you're going to talk favorite game of all time, that's always the one that slips into my head. So.
Okay. So that's definitely one I'm going to go back and check out. Okay, moving on.
Yep.
Who or what got you into video games originally in the first place?
So my parents didn't get us video games when I was a kid. I would get a few PC games that were all text-based occasionally.
PC dork.
PC dork, yeah. Running on my XT through DOS. C command prompt, and I don't know. I can't remember my DOS commands anymore. But it was before Windows was on computers. I had to use 5.5-inch floppy disks to load them in, and
I miss those.
But
back when the save button was more than just a save button, it actually meant something.
Mm-hmm. I moved to a street in Thunder Bay, Hamilton Avenue. My parents had just moved us there, and I met this kid named Patrick on my street. And Patrick had a Nintendo Entertainment System. And on it, he was a brother. Phil was playing Mega Man. Mega Man 2, actually.
Oh.
So
that's a good introduction to video games for sure.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
That's the first video game I can remember physically seeing. I'm sure I saw them in arcades and occasionally walking by in a bowling alley or something. But that's the first visceral memory I have of games. And I tried it, and I was like, let's be honest, it was my first time touching a controller. I was not good at Mega Man 2. That's a hard ass game.
I still can't beat it.
But I got the itch for it, and I told my parents I wanted it in a Nintendo Entertainment System, and they're like, I don't know, it's a lot of money, so they told me I had to go get a job. So I was 8. They weren't going to buy it for me.
What age was this?
So I got a newspaper route when kids were still able to do newspaper routes at 8. I was dragging the papers. I went to Zeller's after I got a few paychecks in and bought my first
Zeller's.
Nintendo Entertainment System with a check. Came with a copy of Super Mario Brothers 3.
You bought it with a check.
Check. They still took checks at the time.
I mean, they still do at grocery stores, which is kind of weird.
Yep. But yeah, we went to Zeller's. We got Super Mario Brothers 3 with it. It kind of all starts from there.
Going right back to the beginning. Very nice. So I need to know, what's a game you thought you'd love that you actually hated?
Resident Evil 4.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just couldn't jive with controls, or was it the story? It wasn't zombies. What was it that didn't quite click for you?
So I was excited about Resident Evil 4 because I tried Resident Evil 3 when I got my PlayStation because I was late to the PlayStation. I was a Nintendo 64 kid. And I was like, I'm a Nintendo kid. I'm going to stay a Nintendo kid. And then the RPGs didn't come to Nintendo 64 at all. They all went to PlayStation. So I got into PlayStation a little bit later. When it came out. So I was like, there's a bunch of games I need to catch up on. So one of the first games I bought was Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, because I kept hearing about.
Was it still the fat PlayStation, or was it the PS1 revision?
No, it was the fat PlayStation.
Fat PlayStation. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I didn't get my PlayStation until it was the PS1. So the smaller revision, which is nice, but I would like when I was a kid, we didn't get stuff right away.
Yeah. No, I guess
just the way it was.
So I was probably about 20-ish. I just moved to London at that point from Thunder Bay. So I had my own income. I was making my own money. I was living at my parents' house still. So lots of disposable income. So I bought the PlayStation. I bought like 7 or 8 games. And one of them that sticks out is Resident Evil 3, because I started playing it, and the tank controls and Nemesis coming after me. And it just didn't feel fun to play. I know they say those games are scarier because of the controls, but I think that's an excuse.
Well, you said it was Resident Evil 4 you didn't like. Did you mean 3?
No. So Resident Evil 3 is the game that... So when Resident Evil 4 comes out, and I see the pictures of it for GameCube, yeah, and it's going to be not tank controls anymore. It's going to be over-the-shoulder camera.
They were still kind of tanky.
They were, and that was part of the problem. I was expecting something new coming into that game, and I think it feeling better. And there's still people to this day who are... most people say Resident Evil 4 is a masterpiece, and for me, I couldn't get over the fact that I couldn't run and shoot at the same time. Like every time I want to shoot, I had to stop, and like it did a lot of cool things. But then I remember there's like a guy who runs out of the nowhere and with a chainsaw in his hand and just saws your head off. My roommate at the time was better than me in that game. And I just couldn't jive with it. It was one of those things where I bought it day one. I wasn't going to, and I was like, you know what? It's getting great reviews. This is it. I'm going to try it. I think this is going to be it. It looks, and it just couldn't click.
Okay, that's interesting. I have some differing opinions about Resident Evil 4, but that isn't a conversation for today. Today is all about you, and we will move on. And I already know the answer to the next question. We will not stay on it very long. You can just say it. We're moving on. What is a game that everyone else seems to like that you don't?
I
already know the answer.
Oh, this is a tough one.
You don't have to dwell on it. No, it's not. I know what you're going to say. Just say it.
Oh, it's Breath of the Wild.
There it is. Cool.
You know, and look, I get people like Breath of the Wild. And I'm not sure what it is because I played it, and I'm like, this just isn't what I want in a Zelda game. And I know lots of Zelda fans who
That's fair.
Played all the old ones, like really fell in love with it. And for me, it's just like, I don't want breaking weapons, and I miss the old dungeons. And I like when Link to the Past or Link's Awakening came out, that was my jam. I used to speedrun that game as a kid before I knew what speedrunning was. I tried to make it through as quickly as I could. And just something with Breath of the Wild. I would play Skyward Sword over Breath of the Wild.
You're wrong. I do not agree with anything you just said, but we can move on.
Okay.
So, have you ever pretended to be sick to get out of work or school to play a game?
No. That's something that I've never done.
Okay. What is the origin of your gamer tag, PSN, ID, whatever you want to call it?
So I needed
This allows
one.
you to pimp your stuff.
Yeah. So my PSN is _NMAC. I used to work for a company called Lids. I think I can name my companies. But
Lids, the hat store?
yeah, I was actually one of the first managers when they came to Canada.
Huh. I did not know that.
I opened the London, Ontario store in Masonville. It was like
I like hats.
So yeah, I've got 130 of them upstairs.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's what my
Okay.
wife would say. There's like 2 bins of them. I collected quite a few hats over the years. But because we did custom embroidery, we had to custom embroider something on our hats. So I didn't put the NMAC. I'd always put NMAC on my hats. So, and then when I went to select my PlayStation ID for the first time, I was like, NMAC. And I'm like, taken. Because I didn't get a PlayStation
Taken or
3.
too short?
Could have been either or.
It may have
Maybe.
been too short.
Could have been too short. I was a few years late. I got the PS3, I think, a year and a half after it came out. So who knows?
That's about when I got mine. So I got mine just as they were discontinuing the MotorStorm bundle, where it came with the 80 gig PS3 that was still backwards compatible with the PS2. So the one that had the PS2 hardware in it, and that's sitting somewhere in storage. And my parents, I was just like, I have to get this before that's no longer a feature. Like, let's go, let's do it. And they caved, but
yeah,
that's just how it worked out.
yeah. No, I had a fat one with backwards compatibility, and it was getting the yellow light of death on it. So we took it to a guy to have the thermal paste redone on it, and it fixed it. And this was just after we had Parker, so it would have been 9 years ago-ish, I want to say.
Sure.
So after that, he's basically, if you did it once for him, he just fix it lifetime for you after that.
That's nice.
So my wife took it back to him when we were having the problem again. The problem was she put it in the bottom of the stroller and walked it over because we only had one car at the time. She didn't put it in a plastic bag. She didn't do anything. And this was just after it had rained and there was muck. And it basically, he got it there and he's like, it's just filled with mud and water. I can't do anything for it now. So I lost all my saves. Was not
so
a PS.
sad.
Yeah, I was not a PS Plus guy yet. I joined PS Plus and stayed with PS Plus after they gave the free subscription after
Cloud
the
saves?
outage. Yeah, so
Oh,
then I
yeah,
got cloud
the great
saves.
PSN outage.
Yeah, when the great PSN outage happened, I stayed on after that when that was part of their welcome back package.
Right.
Because I was enjoying what I was getting with the program. So then I got cloud saves, and then I didn't have to worry about it. But yeah, that's something that happened.
Okay. For you personally,
Yep.
what is the greatest console or handheld of all time?
The Super Nintendo.
Super Nintendo. We don't have to elaborate. It's the Super Nintendo.
I don't. I think if you're looking back at a perfect system and a system that the games hold up no matter when you play them, I feel like the Super Nintendo's it. It's beautiful sprite work. It's better than the NES because, like, as much as I love the NES, the games still feel old a lot of the times when you go back and play them, where the Super Nintendo ones felt evolved. And if you try to go back and play N64 or PS1 games, they don't feel great. Even when I got PS2 and I went back to play PS1 games, I'm like, I can hardly tell what's going on. The textures are blocky. There's no textures. It's just like polygons.
Yep.
No.
It's not as bad as the Atari, but it definitely shows its age going back.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best weapon you've ever used in a video game?
I don't know the name of it, but my favorite weapons were out of Final Fantasy X. Any of the ultimate weapons, which unlocked all of the abilities. It reduced all of the magic spells to like 1 point, and you could do multiple castings of them. Basically turned your people on your team into like Supermen, and you would cast spells over and over again at essentially no cost. So some of them were a pain to get, but they're worth it.
I've never finished Final Fantasy X. I bought it for the Switch. I am committed to eventually maybe getting through that game.
Some of the games, like Final Fantasy X, has its issues. I don't love Blitzball. I think Blitzball is the worst thing in Final Fantasy. Some people really like it. I don't get it. Most
each
people
their
don't
own.
like blitzball, but so like for that reason, like you have to do all the blitzball games to get one of your ultimate weapons. I'm like, I'm not getting that ultimate weapon, but the ones I did get, like I had to dodge lightning 200 times, and I probably spent hours in my room pressing X over and over and over again, and then getting to like 197, 198, and then getting hit by the lightning, trying to get these weapons. But
Yeah.
it was completely worth it. So I probably put 150 hours into that game.
Still less than Animal Crossing.
Yep.
Have you ever had to stop playing a game because it was just too scary?
So I'm going to let you in on a secret. I don't love scary games.
Dude, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
I just avoid them. Straight up.
I'm a bit of a fraidy cat. I get them for review, and I play them for review when I get them. But I'm not typically a big fan of the spookies. Typically,
The Spookies is no fun. I'm with you on that one. Has a game ever made you cry?
yeah. If I had to think of an example, no, but it's definitely happened.
God damn it! I wanted the example. I wanted you to bring
Yeah.
back the feels, but that's okay.
No, there's games. I'm an emotional person, and I think a lot of guys specifically were like, "Oh, you don't cry." I'm like, you know what? I cry when I need to cry. I'm emotional. Like that thing, like stuff can get to me.
Dude, I admitted to the internet last night that a fireworks show made me cry. It's okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, like 100%. I get emotional. I get emotional when I watch when sad things happen on TV sometimes. I think it's gotten worse as I've gotten older, especially since I've had kids. When I see something that's involving kids,
I was gonna say, yeah. Did kids impact that?
I'm like, I just can't imagine people like kids struggling, and like you want to give them everything you can, and sometimes you can't. So, anyways.
That has nothing to do with games, but it works out. Multiplayer or single player games? What's the preference?
So, single player for sure.
Okay.
I dabble in multiplayer.
When you dabble in multiplayer, co-op or
Yep.
PvP? What's your preference?
PvP probably. Like the most, I'm not a good co-opper. I'll often go into lone wolf. I started back when World of Warcraft came out. I would just play by myself, and I get to level 20, I get bored, and I try again. And I get to level 20 with the new character, and I get bored.
Yeah.
And I was never a big like party up with people, and even nowadays, I'm still not great at it. Like I bought Overwatch because they added a deathmatch mode where I could just play by myself in a deathmatch. And I enjoyed a bit of the team stuff, but I got to be honest, the deathmatch mode was where I was like, this is really fun. This is kind of what I want out of that.
You're just lone wolf out there looking for them kills.
Yeah, I don't think I'm a good teammate when it comes to game. Now, that being said, I'm enjoying the multiplayer in Animal Crossing quite a bit, so maybe that will convert me.
We'll have to wait and see. Speaking of
Yeah.
Animal Crossing, what is the single longest gaming session you've ever had? So start to finish, did not move from a single spot, no bathroom break, no water, nothing. What is the longest you have sat on your butt, looking at a screen, playing a game?
Fuck, I don't know.
There's the first one.
Yeah, I'm sure it's happened. I've never been like where I won't get up and where I won't stop. Probably playing like there's been games where I've been close to the end and I've just wanted to keep going to like get to the end point of it.
Just forget what I said about bathroom breaks or whatever. Like everyone has to pee. So like
Yeah.
to the best of your knowledge, what is the longest continual gaming session you've had?
Probably like one of the Uncharted games would be my guess. Because it's
How
like
long?
a movie and I kept
What was the time count? What do you think?
6 or 7 hours.
That's
Like, nothing-
that's something. Nothing too
It's-
crazy though.
It's nothing like crazy as you hear people going like, I played 14 hours or I played like for 24 hours straight. I don't
That
think my
sounds
body could
unhealthy.
go through yeah, that does sound unhealthy.
Especially at your age.
but I am pretty old now. That's true.
Older than me. I just have to make fun of it. I'm sorry. About 10
Yeah.
years my senior.
It's true.
You're what
I'm
I will
getting
be
old.
in 10 years. I only hope I am you in 10 years.
Well, hopefully slightly more attractive than me.
I was going to say slightly more hair, but same
Yeah,
thing.
well, that too. Although my wife said she likes men with no hair. That worked out well for me.
Absolutely,
So-
yeah. I'm a little worried. My dad's on the cusp, so I don't know if I inherited that. My locks may not be around as long as I might like.
Believe it or not, I used to have frosted tips.
I need to see a picture of that.
Or no, blonde highlights. It wasn't frosted tips. I used to put blonde highlights in my hair when I was in my early 20s.
Either way, we need to see pictures or it didn't happen.
Okay.
Okay. Where was I? If video games no longer existed, what would you do? How would you spend your time?
If there weren't video games, I'd probably watch more TV and get back into like shows. I find myself getting into shows like I love Ozark, and I've watched seasons 1 and 2, and season 3 came out. I watched the first episode, but I want to play Animal Crossing more than I want to watch Ozark.
That's
comics
fair.
Again.
Yeah.
I have a whole shelf of comics right here, and it's just things compete for your time.
Of course.
Like in the medium, it's about competing for time. And
I mean,
I tried getting back into reading comics a little while ago, and just you only have so much time in the day.
I mean, having a
That's where you put
family
it,
too,
so.
like that's a significant commitment, right? Between your wife and your kids,
Yeah.
right? And we don't do
So-
this full time, so you also have jobs you have to do.
Oh yeah. So yeah, no, it would probably be a little more TV, movies, and definitely reading comics again. I love comics. I love DC Comics. I've been a Green Lantern fan for pretty much most of my life. My parents got me Superman comics when Superman died. I have the
Oof.
Superman 75, the first one where he died. But then there was a Green Lantern follow-up episode, and that was my introduction to Green Lantern, and I kind of fell in love with his character. And then soon afterwards, Kyle Rayner came in as the new GL, and that's kind of where I started following the series. I was like,
It
it's a
gave
brand new
you a
character,
jumping
it's
off
great
point, right?
Yeah. So anyways, but yeah, comics. I'd love to get back.
It's fun. It's funny you say that. Two things I have in my apartment right now. One is sitting framed, waiting to be hung, and it is a pop art of GL with the Creed in Brightest Day and Blackest Night.
Okay.
Blah blah blah
Yep.
blah 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 blah. And one of the only comic books I own is the graphic novelization of Death of Superman that came packed in with the Blu-ray
Yep.
of the movie Death of Superman. That's sitting behind me here,
Yep.
and I only know that because Inside Baseball, the desk I'm at right now was not here yesterday. I had to move that bookshelf from where I'm sitting, so I had to empty everything, move it, and then reload it. So I literally know where everything is in there now, which is kind of nice. And that Death of Superman comic is one of them.
Yeah, it's not worth anything, but Death of Superman, too many people bought it. Like comics, they can't be worth anything anymore because people buy them.
Well,
to
this
be
was
worth
also a
something.
reprint
So-
years later with a movie, so it's something just to be enjoyed.
Yeah.
I found myself trying to consume
Yep.
more digital comics. So for those of you who are in
Yep.
Toronto proper, you can actually, with your Toronto Public Library card, subscribe to a bunch of on-demand services, and one of them offers free comic rental, or you can borrow comic books. So I read the whole Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle run. I read the
Okay.
Power Ranger was it Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles? I want to say that
Yeah,
crossover.
there was a Power Rangers and Justice League.
That was the one, the Power Rangers Justice
Crossover.
League crossover. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
my universes confused, so I read all that through there. It's kind of nice. I gotta, while we're socially isolating, I gotta get back to that. That's something I haven't done enough of, is read comics.
I want to get through and read the Power Rangers comics. I started. Them.
I have read, I think 20 or so issues, and they're phenomenal. Like, I grew up a Power Rangers kid, and this stuff is just, it's so good.
Yeah, I want to say I'm 15 issues in. I was probably a little too old when Power Rangers came out, but I fell in love with it for a few years before I aged out of
Yeah.
it, and then came back to it many years
That
later.
sort of happened to me too,
so
where I grew up on it, aged out of it around maybe 11, and then got back into it as an adult just for the campy pop culture nature of the genre, or of the series.
Yep, 100%.
Favorite song from a video game?
Favorite song from a video game?
Theme song?
Honestly, probably one of the songs in Tony Hawk.
Those are licensed
Hawk.
songs. That's such a cop-out.
I know. It is a cop-out, but that's honestly where I got a lot of my music preferences from. That I listen to now. I was introduced into so many genres of music that I really wasn't listening to at the time, and like bands, because of what was on those soundtracks.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I was a little young for Tony Hawk to shape my musical taste. It did to an extent. For me, the big push for that was Rock Band.
Yep.
Rock Band shaped who I am musically for the rest of my life. It's kind of, well, Guitar Hero / Rock Band. It was all around the same time. Those plastic instruments changed my life, man. I don't like that question. I don't really like that question. Oh, this one's fun. And this is one your wife's not going to like to hear.
Okay. Oh. She's not. She's upstairs. She's probably playing Animal Crossing.
What is the game you spent the most money on?
Borderlands 3?
Just having bought the DLC, I guess?
Yeah, like I bought the big extended version. It was like $130. I typically don't spend a lot of money on games. I've become mostly a digital collector for the past, since the Vita came out. I've been all digital for the PS4. I've been all digital for my Switch, all digital for the Vita.
No microtransaction models hooked you and caught you up as a whale?
I've never been... No, I've never fallen for any of the microtransaction things. I'll occasionally, if I like the developer or I think the game's good, I get rid of ads for $5 or whatever, and I'll throw that in. But I won't, just to give the developer something. But I don't really fall into that. Now, my wife, on the other hand, can fall into those traps.
Don't throw her under the bus. We're interviewing you, not your wife.
Just saying, if she's gonna get mad at somebody, it's herself, because she knows.
Okay. Who's your Smash main?
Who's my Smash main? Well, I'm not great at Smash.
It's not what I asked.
So if I had to pick a Smash main, it would be probably Fox or Falcon would be my two go-to.
Fox or Falcon.
Just because they're the easy... Like, I always found them easier to use. Like, I played Smash Brothers Ultimate, and I beat all the classic modes for every character. Every time a new character comes out, I beat their classic mode. Although I did not do that with whatever the guy's name was for Fire Emblem, who came out. He's the first one I didn't do. I got to go back and do that.
Byleth.
Byleth, thank you. I was not excited about that one at all.
More DLCs coming.
Yeah, hopefully give me some Waluigi. I just want to see Waluigi in the game at this point.
Okay. I don't even know when this episode's coming out.
Yep.
Because who knows? Yep. So do you think Waluigi gets into Smash?
No.
I know you want it, but do you think it happens?
No, I like, he's not in Mario Kart. He's like,
I mean, technically he's there as an assist trophy, but I mean as a fighter.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I don't think, like, he obviously, Sakurai knows that people want him, and Nintendo knows people want him, and they still continue to ignore him. They've seen the memes. They know what's out there, and maybe they don't think they can make him a compelling fighter or whatever it is. Goku cannot be in Smash Brothers. Maybe Superman can, because he's better than Goku anyways.
Superman's not a video game character. At least Goku's a video game character.
Superman's been in lots of video games.
Name me one good Superman game that wasn't Injustice or Injustice 2.
The Death and Return of Superman on the Super Nintendo. It was excellent. It was a side-scrolling beat-em-up.
They all were back then. Every licensed game was a side-scrolling beat 'em up back in the
this one was
SNES days.
So I actually played Superman 64.
You're a monster, and I hate you.
Yeah, I want to tell you that it's as bad as everybody says it is. Just to be clear, there's no saving grace to that game.
So that's your PSA for tonight: is just don't play Superman 64.
Actually, I do suggest people play it so they can talk about how bad it is. It's one of those games where somebody at one point said that games, like, it was in a Facebook group of some sort, and they're like, no, this game's worth no money. I'm like, even Superman 64 to me is worth like the $5 I paid to rent it, because now I have this as a talking point for the rest of my life as an experience, as I can say, this is a bad game, and I played this game. Flying through those rings was terrible. It controlled terribly. It was just full of fog. Because I've got that point of view. Like, people put themselves into into bubbles where they're like, oh, this game's not worth anything. They forget about all the people who worked on it and everybody. Like, somebody who's worked on something, no matter how bad it is.
Yeah, you gotta feel bad for anyone who comes out of an experience like that cared about it and realizes it's as bad as it, or not really realizing it's as bad as everyone says it is, versus someone who comes out of it knowing they made something that was a pile of flaming dog duty and can agree with everything that everyone said because of rushed deadlines or difficulties between the licensee and the developer or the publisher or the marketing, whatever. Whoever pushed the buttons to say this goes out in the state that it was needs to be no longer in the video gaming industry.
Well, and those people probably aren't.
Because that came out probably, 20 years ago?
at least it was it was an N64 game.
Cozy can fact check us if he wants.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like there's value in games that are even bad because they give you an experience of playing that game. And at least it gives you a talking point.
What was the question?
Superman 64 release date.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Cozy.
Thank you.
We will move on while he fact checks the crap out of us.
Yep.
I'm going to give you a 50, this or that. And if you choose one, the other one never existed.
Okay.
Cool?
Yep.
Hold on. Before you say that,
timing.
Superman 64 was released in North America on May 31st, 1999, and it was released in the EU on July 23rd, 1999.
So almost 20
So 21
years
ago.
Yeah.
Almost 20.
Or,
yeah, almost 20, right.
almost.
No, 1999.
No.
99.
So yeah, 21 years ago. Almost like it's 20 years this year or last year.
Yep.
I don't math good. What
Yes.
year is it? What
It's
day
all
is
good.
it? Is it still March? March felt like it was 3 years long.
Yeah, well, and April's not feeling any shorter.
No, it is not.
Okay, so this or that.
This or that.
This or that. Let me.
Nintendo or PlayStation. One of them exists. One of them doesn't.
PlayStation.
PlayStation. Really.
PlayStation.
Even knowing the SNES is your favorite console of all time, it no longer exists. You still go PlayStation.
I've been a PlayStation guy for years, and I've been slow to the Wii. I've been slow to the Wii U.
Everyone was slow to the Wii
Animal
U.
Crossing's, yeah. Like Animal Crossing is the most I've played on a Switch game. Like, I don't get me wrong, I love and cherish my
It's
experiences.
also 250 hours spent on a Switch game. You can't discount that.
No, that's fair. But I at this point would say PlayStation. I'm into the achievements. I'm into everything else. Now that being said, if Nintendo, trophies.
Trophies.
Thank you.
Trophies over achievements any day of the week. I'm with you on that. Chat will not like that. I don't care.
Yeah, no, sorry. Trophies. I'm a trophy, not as much as Cozy or Cam guy today.
Our resident trophy whore.
Yeah, I'm only at like I'm a baby compared to him. I'm at like 41 trophies, platinums, I think. So
I'm not. I'm still under 15. I think.
yeah.
Next one I'm going to get on stream though. Twitch.tv/Press YYZ. I hope will be my Final Fantasy VII remake platinum.
Excellent.
Yeah. We'll see if that comes to fruition before or after this show goes live.
All right.
All right, moving on. Favorite video game villain?
Favorite video game villain? There's so many good ones to pick. I haven't played Remake yet, but Sephiroth was always one of those villains that got to me.
When are you thinking about getting to Remake?
When I have a little spare cash. So
That's a good call. It's an expensive investment. Any of these video games are expensive investments.
with the climate we're in right now, just I work in a job that's still in sales. So half my team was laid off a few weeks ago. So we want to make sure that that I'm not going to be laid off, and who knows. So I might come a little late to that one on the party, maybe once it's on sale potentially.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
But I will get there. No questions. I want to give it a try and go for it. But Sephiroth, that moment, I don't know how it played in Remake, but everybody knows the moment.
I don't know the moment. I've only played Remake.
So, well, the moment should be early.
No spoilers. There are moments. I don't know what moment you're referring to, and I'm not going to let you tell me because I don't want you to spoil that game for me or our listeners.
Yeah, so I'll leave it at that. I won't spoil a 20-year-old game.
I appreciate that very much. And I think one of our hosts, Alex, has finished it, and he bought physical like a crazy person. So if I'm ever down for a long drive during the social isolation period, I could always drive that copy down to you in London. As long as we do a contactless handoff.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll
figure something out. Yeah, you pay for gas.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Have you ever rage quit?
No. I'm somebody who doesn't get angry at video games. I know a lot of people can get angry. I'm a pretty patient person. Like, there's definitely moments in some games where I've like, I can't get this, but I go away and then I come back, and I'm always better after I come back.
So you've never gotten angry, you've never rage quit, but I know you already mentioned Smash. Is there any other game that you feel like you're really bad at?
Smash, because it's not a real fighting game, is always one of those games where, like, if it was a real fighting game, I'd probably be better at it. but it's just something's not clicking in the head with that one. I always thought I'd be better at the Resident Evil games. We talked about that earlier, and that's just something I just don't know why it's just never jived with me.
No, and that's totally fair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is your favorite game series of all time?
Ooh. Trying to think in my head of I love God of War, I love Zelda, I love Mario. I'm probably going to say Mario.
Now, why is that? Just every game's been a banger, or what is it about
almost
Mario?
every game of Mario I enjoy. I 100%ed Mario Odyssey. I love that game and couldn't put it down until I got every single moon in it. There's very few Mario games I dislike. Like Mario Sunshine, I think was not good. I didn't enjoy playing it. I did not finish it. Mario 3D World. I know people love Mario 3D World. It's not my jam.
I really enjoyed it, but I can understand someone not. But I really liked it.
It's something about they tried to do 2D and 3D at the same time, and for me it just didn't jive. I had trouble making jumps. The isometric view didn't lend itself to platforming super well.
See, I liked the isometric view in Super Mario 3D Land for the 3DS, and they carried that aesthetic forward into the Wii U game, and that's one of the few Wii U games that's still trapped on that console, at least at time of recording. So it would be nice to see that come to the Switch, so people do get to experience it, if that's their cup of tea. But I could totally understand where the change in perspective could impact your ability to enjoy it.
Yeah, I think I was just looking for another 3D Mario.
And it wasn't quite that.
No, it wasn't quite that. That's why when I got my hands on Odyssey, I fell in love with that.
Okay. Personally, for you, what is more important, gameplay or story? I'll give you a second to ponder. And while you ponder, I will say that you can catch this show live on Twitch every week at 8-ish on Wednesday nights. And you can also catch us on Twitter at twitter.com/Press YYZ. And if you're catching us on Twitch, it's at twitch.tv/Press YYZ. Back to Nathan. It's hard, I know. That's why I made it one of the last questions. Gives me time to pimp our stuff.
Yeah. Can we repeat the question? The pimping the stuff distracted me.
Gameplay or story? What is more important to you?
Oh, gameplay, story. Probably gameplay. I want to say I go back to games like Tetris, which is just all gameplay. You can play a great game without a story, but if you've got a great story hidden behind terrible gameplay, you're not going to want to play it further.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So this one's going to get real deep, and the answer cannot be Animal Crossing.
Okay.
Do you have a guilty pleasure video game? A game that is so bad or so many people do not like it, but you secretly really, really enjoy playing it?
So, Goat Simulator.
Goat Simulator.
I really enjoy Goat Simulator because of the absurdness of it. There were a bunch of games out at that time that kind of played on that absurdity. Octodad Dadliest Catch.
That was definitely a thing.
Surgeon Simulator.
Terrible game.
They're not great games, but I think they made themselves to be not great game.
Yeah, they're fulfilling the purpose of the original game design, which was to be a poorly designed game.
Yeah, it goes back to on my DVD shelf, which I have over there, which I haven't touched any of those, and my wife wants me to get rid of. There's a movie called Snakes on a Plane.
I've had it with these mother effing snakes on this mother effing plane.
Yeah.
We all know it.
Everybody knows Snakes on a Plane. That was made to be a good B movie. It wasn't made to be a great movie. And when I look at some of these games, and I'm like, some people are like, this is terrible. I'm like, this was done with intent.
It was.
Yeah, the concept itself would be half baked if they did it on their own. So they've made this they've gone all out on making these good, bad games, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Now those are good bad games. You also talked about a bad game in Superman 64. Other than Superman 64, because I know that probably would have been your default answer, and now I'm not giving you that cop out. What is the worst game you've ever played?
So if we're taking Superman 64 out of the mix...
First off, would that have been the worst game you've ever played?
Probably.
Okay.
I reviewed the Bubsy remake a few years ago. Paws of Fury or something.
Something like that.
Yeah, it by far was like my least favorite game in years. So that's what's immediately sticking out of my head. The levels were filled like 500 or 600 like things of yarn that you had to collect. They weren't fun to get. Like, and every level had like 500 or 600 of them. As you were running through like
terrible.
It was terrible. It's one of those games where most of the games we get are decent.
Like they have some design aesthetic to them. They are designed with a purpose.
Just want to mention that there were 2 Bubsy games in recent years. There was Bubsy The Woolies Strike Back in 2017, and then there was Bubsy Paws on Fire in 2019.
So it was probably the 2017 game. That's the one I played. Okay. It wasn't fun to play. Like, it was just bad game design. And like most of the games, like I said, to get back on track, most games I think are pretty good nowadays. You get a few really bad stinkers, but most games are like a 6 or a 7.
Other than Cooking Mama Cookstar. And that has such a fun story behind it.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly want to get my hands on that just out of sheer curiosity.
Yeah. But most of the games that you're going to get are decent games. They're not bad. There's a lot of people designing these games who have played games, and they're taking those experience from playing games and they're putting them into what they've always wanted to make. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of crap on Steam, but for the most part, most of the stuff that ends up on like PlayStation Network or Xbox is going to be pretty good, with the exception of Life of Black Tiger or something like that, which sneaks through.
Or if you look at the eShop, that is just a smorgasbord of overpriced mobile game ports, unfortunately, but that's just a nature of them trying to strike while the iron is hot, on the Switch being the hot new thing on the market, where their games are portable to it with minimal code changes, I would assume. And they just push their shovelware there and sell it for 3 cents and instead of free, and people buy it, and all that crap just rises to the top of the bestsellers list, which is a shame. It's digging through that. That's the challenge.
I'm surprised the Vita never got that. How did the Vita? That never happened to the Vita. I don't understand.
No one bought the Vita.
Didn't it sell really, really well, more than the Wii U?
I don't think so. Did it? Did it sell better than the Wii U?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. The hell was Nintendo thinking?
Unless the numbers have changed. It's been a few years since I've looked, but the Vita numbers were ahead of the Wii U numbers.
I own both, so I have no excuses. You guys didn't buy 2 really good consoles.
Yep.
Shame on you. Okay. I'm down to my last question.
Ooh, we got through all
We got through the whole kit caboodle.
Sweet.
So finally,
All right, let's do this.
it's another hypothetical.
Okay. I'm ready.
Man comes up to your door. Briefcase, $1 million cash. You're never allowed to play video games again.
Okay.
Do you take the cash? And you better hope your wife's not listening.
Yeah, I was just saying, if my wife's there, I don't think I have a choice.
Your wife's not there. You're home alone. This anonymous person offers you $1 million in cash on the spot, but you have to give up video games for life.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to say yes.
You take the money?
I probably take the money.
You probably take the money.
$1 million can do a lot of things. I love video games, don't get me wrong, but like there'd be so many, like not having a mortgage and car payments and having extra money, and there'd be other hobbies I could get back into. As we discussed, if video games weren't a thing, there's other things to fall back on.
Then you wouldn't be on this show.
Well, I could still be on the show. I just
It's a video game podcast.
well, I could just talk about the history.
You
of
can't
video
have
games.
anything to do with video games. You can't consume any of the media, any of the YouTubers, any of the Twitches. None of it. It's all gone.
Yeah. So I think most people, when they answer this, are going to cop out and say, no, I wouldn't take the money. I think that's incorrect. And I think most people would think very hard
it
and
is.
probably take the money.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm just joshing you at this point.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But I think that's the right answer.
So at the end of the day, Nathan Mclnerney, you heard it here first, is a selfish asshole who would abandon us for $1 million. And frankly, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
And with that, we can wrap up this show.
Woo! We made it. We're done.
We made it. First bonus episode of the show's in the tank. So
Excellent.
thank you everyone for joining us. I've been your host, Mitch George. You can catch me on Twitter, Instagram, wherever, at Mr. Mitch George. Nathan, where can people catch up with you?
The_NMAC on Twitter. Follow me on PS4blog.net, where I do game reviews. I'm not going to pimp anything specifically because we don't know when this is going to come out, but just check out. I always have reviews popping up there. I've got several games under review as we could talk right now. You're being told you would take the money as well.
Is my fiance in chat saying to take the money?
Yep.
I probably shouldn't have told her to watch this show. Sorry, hon. Cozy, you've been around with us. You've stuck with us through this hour, whatever it's been of this show, so feel free to pimp your stuff.
I have. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at AlexCozina. Yeah, you can also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/CozyBearLive. I've been told that apparently my video is out of sync with my voice this video, but we'll be able to sort it out in the future. Thankfully, I'm not really on this episode. So
this episode was a test run / figure out what this one-on-one format was going to be, and I think it went pretty well. So be sure to follow the show on Twitter at twitter.com/Press YYZ and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Press YYZ. We've been...
Before we go, can I try one thing?
Oh, God.
I'm interrupting. I want to try a new character for the show.
Yeah, sure. Whatever. It's at the end of a show that people might never hear.
See, this is why it's good. Hello, I'm Mermaid Batman, and I want to say goodbye to you. That was my new character, Mermaid Batman.
And with that, thanks for playing.